Right, so welcome back. And we're back to the cottage. And Lord knows I've got a lot of messages in this cottage over the past few months. And Adrian, when are you going to get back to it? Well, it all comes down to timing and getting the jobs done at home and getting the cattle and things, the farm that we run, all taken care of and making sure everything's okay there. But today, the sun is out. For a change here in Ireland, we don't get very much of it. But now is the perfect chance to start. We want to give a quick update before we start into anything and let you know what's actually happening with the cottage. There's been quite a lot of decision making made in the last few months. A hell of a lot of thinking went into this to see what our plans is actually going to be. Now, the decisions that we make come down to other work that we have to do. We have a lot of work to do on our farm. We want to get a new calf shed up and possibly a new machinery shed up. So that comes first and foremost because that is our business at the end of the day. The building needs a lot of maintenance. You can see, if you haven't been here before, well, you need to go back and watch the first few videos because everything will make way more sense. But there's obviously a lot of construction work that needs to be done. That wall is short and it needs to come down, obviously. I'm not worried about that. That'll all be replaced. But if these jobs aren't tended to and the house isn't maintained, especially after it being opened up, because beforehand it was completely grew in and the actual vegetation around it was protecting it. And now that it's open to the elements and the very strong winds that we get, it leaves it very, very open and it can deteriorate very, very quickly. So there's lots of things I'm going to fix on it. I'm going to bring this house back to fairly good condition. I'm going to give it a new lease of life and I have the plan in place of each section, how I'm going to do it. Year by year, we're going to start the construction phase. So there's also planning then, planning permission. And we haven't applied for any planning at the moment. We have our percolation test done. We have everything done, ready to practically submit a planning. But whether we're going to do that or not, that's still sitting on the shelf because I have ideas and my mind keeps changing and I keep looking at it, and I have had lads look at it as well who are friends of mine are in the trade, and we're putting loads of different ideas together, just putting everything down on paper, and we can make a final decision which one works best. So with planning, the idea would have been to extend this house right out to here, add another 2 bedrooms onto it and a bathroom. We'd also be widening the house over there too, so basically be doubling the size of the houses already here. Now, we can do a lot of stuff without planning. We can extend it backwards to the back bank here. As long as we don't alter the gables of the house, we can extend backwards. We can build a nice extension because it is my own land. In the future, whether it's myself and Sinead that wants to retire here, or one of my girls who wants to live over here, they can apply for planning and they can take it from there. So the first few videos is all preservation. I'm going to fix this place up that it looks one hell of a lot better. First thing we need is water. Cut this to size. I have a bit of pressure on it, but I do have it turned off. Now all that water you're seeing is just coming running down the steep hill behind us from the drinkers, so you're going to get that. Stick it in here. On the tap on to relieve the pressure. Might be a few of you asking, should I use plumber's tape on this? You could, but I find with the heavy gauge pipe, never need to. Alright, so there we are. That's our tap in there now. We've got water flowing in the back of the house. I left an extra bit of pipe there as well so I can cut it into the ground, go around the back here and just bury it in so it'll come in behind the post. I didn't want to have it running along here. So the next thing I need to do is hook a hose up to this, bring it across because I immediately need water for the next job. So this house is rightly covered in moss, algae and all. You've got this old thick stuff here that has built up over several decades of the house being in the darkness. And this house has been vacant since 1985, so that's quite a while. Not only moss, the whole walls are kind of covered in an old kind of black mould. And we do have the remnants as well of all the ivy that we took off. The ivy was growing across all these walls. So just to remove all that debris, we might as well just pressure wash the whole walls down. It'll look a hell of a lot better. If you're from different countries, every country has different ways of building houses. But in this area where I'm from, there's a lot of mud wall. Versus further down south in Ireland, you would see a lot of stone wall, traditional stone walls. Stone wall, you can't beat it. You could take the plaster off, you could repaint it. Looks phenomenally well when that's done. These mud walls are different and quite common in our area because there's not a lot of stone. There's no stone hedges you'll notice in this part of the country. This was a cheap way of building a house, but actually very good because it's a great insulator. So that part I first pointed out actually is an extension to this house. You can see the different height in the roof. But this old part here, it's mud wall. My home place is built with mud wall as well, and it's well over 100 years old, and it will stand for a long, long time yet, so long as the plaster is good. It's the plaster that keeps the mud dry, and if it's not kept dry, it will fall very, very quickly. Part of the reason why we're washing this down as well, want to look for cracks, want to look for chips and things where water can get in, and we want to be able to seal all those. So anyway, let's get stuck into it. Right, well I'm getting covered here, so I'm going to swap lances. I'm going to try the turbo head, turn the pressure down, because it doesn't throw back as much. Try to close the door, not in the wet. The rain. We've got an order here of some of the first bits and pieces that we need. So I've got some building sand here to repair some of the plaster. I've got some 4x2s here, some fascia board. We're going to replace all the fascia board in front of the house. That's the exact same type of fascia board that's already on it. I got a set of thresholds and boards to go along with them. I badly needed them. Several jobs I have been doing at home over here, trying to use a ladder and a platform. I don't know why I didn't get a set of them long ago. Well, I have a lot of use for them over the next couple of years working on here and at home. So anyway, that's the pressure wash. I'm glad I done that. And at least it shows me now what the render is actually like underneath. And I'm pleasantly surprised at how good it actually is. Footpads here, well, they're there. That's all I can say about them. All that stuff will be replaced anyway. As we walk around here now, again, good render. Crack across the bottom, not worried about that. It's a filler crack. It's not moving or anything like that. It's just something that needs to be filled. This here is something that strikes me because the house is all like this, underneath that flakes of paint. Is that a lime finish or is that a paint? Because it doesn't come off and it's very, very fresh when you power wash it back. So is that in the render or is that a paint? Because looking at it here closely, to me it looks like it's in the render. The thing with the pressure washing as well is you start to uncover all the different coats of paint it got. It seems to be it went from white or a light grey to blue to a lighter blue and then to the green on the top. When you come around to this side then actually the plaster is still good. So the house was obviously all plastered. Once that other section was added on, they just rendered the whole place, which protected these walls. As I said before, mud walls, well, they're only as good as the render that is on the outside of them. Another thing I noticed was this pipe coming out. So I can see a bend up there. So this was obviously straight up in the air. I'm not sure why. Was there a water tank up on the roof? Was it going into the attic? Was it a vent of some sort? Don't know, but you can see the way it's bent down here at the minute. Probably went to a tank of some sort somewhere. So there was the wire in there coming in to the meter box in the house, feeding in from the main ESB pole here that still stands. So I checked out online as well, just looking on kind of buy and sell type sites, for 2 doors that would fit relatively into these here. Doors with frames already, like a PVC, UPVC door. And it took a while actually until that fella there, Sean, who delivered the stuff just out to us there a while ago, messaged me and said his neighbour had doors. And I knew his neighbour well and didn't know he had doors though. And I was able to go to him and get 2 really good doors that'll be fit to put on there. So that's going to be happening very soon. It'd be nice to get it sealed up. Just stop the weather from driving in through the door. Then we're going to be addressing these fascia boards. We're going to be replacing all this timber, putting new treated fascia board on, just to tidy up the end of that, because that is letting air through, moisture, wet, and everything's getting through, and that's getting into the building itself, and I don't want that happening. I also got some new guttering as well that we're going to put on too, and that'll stop the water from running down the walls, new downpipes, and having guttering on and proper fascia on will protect the building a hell of a lot as well. Alright, so we get to our luxury toilet. So what are we going to do with it? Well, obviously it has to come down. It's not fixable. It's actually an old fencing post cut in half. And I looked through it and I don't even know what type of stuff that is, but it's not in good shape and it's actually the ivy that's holding it up. We're going to tear this down completely and we're going to stick a small, easy built little shed up just directly here where it sits. Very same as what's here already. Put a door on the front of it and just have it as a place for now that we can store some building materials and stuff inside, keep them dry, without having to store them in the house itself. I know people might say, why bother when you're going to be building this already? But one of the main reasons why we do need to keep something here for now is that there, you're looking at, is protecting this mud wall here. You can see there's no render on that mud wall. It's very dark in here, sorry about that. And that is mud wall, by the way, just stone and muck mixed. Set like concrete. Once it's kept dry, nothing will ever move on it. But this here is keeping that dry. And this shed is not going to stand much longer. It's on its last legs. And wet is already coming in from the back into that wall. So building a little shed here in this place is something that won't take very long to do and something I will enjoy doing. And it'll protect that wall and leave it ready that whenever we do the work, that we have a dry wall. It'll also be great to get rid of all this ugly ivy off this house. Hopefully then when we get this house buttoned up outside, that it's sealed and the weather can't do any more harm than it's already doing, and we can start to attack the inside. And to attack the inside, we'll be pulling all these roofs down. Get rid of all this stuff here, just leaving it that we have a complete blank canvas ready to start again. So a few people might ask, Adrian, what is the overall plan here? What are you going to actually do with this house? Well, that plan took quite a bit of time to think over, because there's lots of things to think about. 70–80% of this house will be a full restoration job. So we want to make sure that we don't rush into something until we have thought everything through, from the building process and the future of what this house is actually going to be used for. So one of them options was to go for a thing called a derelict grant. In Ireland there's a scheme where you can apply and you will get up to 70,000 to restore a derelict house. There are terms and conditions like anything else, there's plenty of them, but a lot of people have availed of this and it has worked well for some. It got mentioned to us quite a bit from different people that thought or assumed that's what we were going to do, and that's the reason why we were attacking this house in the first place. So this property is something that I actually only bought about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago now, and that's the only reason we're allowed to attack this property, and we did pretty much straight away. When we were doing that, we had no actual real plans. All I did want to do was make sure we could secure this house and leave it that it's not deteriorating any further. The house is in quite bad shape, this back wall in particular. I knew that before we uncovered it, but when you uncover something that has been in the undergrowth for so long, the undergrowth was protecting it. Once you open it to the elements, especially the elements in our part of the world, where it rains a lot and sometimes high winds, I really wanted this building to stay up and I didn't want it to deteriorate any further. So that was number one priority. So that's the priority we're working on now, and it's the one we're going to be working on for the next few months, several months in fact, getting this place airtight. Then we can proceed over a longer period of time in renovating this house. And hopefully it'll come out the way we want it, which is to keep a traditional look about the cottage and not to completely modernise it too much. It's a nice setting here, and to put something very modern in its place, well, it would look like every other house. So I do have a picture in my head of what I would like this to look like when it's done. So that kind of answers the question of whether we're going for the derelict grant. For at the moment we're not, because that comes with a commitment, and that commitment is the timeline. And the timeline, funny enough, is very, very short. If anyone knows who's building a house in the current climate, tradesmen are quite hard to get. They're very busy at the minute, and houses are taking longer and longer to build. And that would be a pressurised job, a job where you're just going full whack, start to finish, done. And that was never the intentions here. I made that clear from day one. And it also steals all the enjoyment of doing it. And I reckon I can do it for a lot less by doing a lot of the work myself. I've done this work before, especially building my own house. And I know what I can do and what I can't do, what my limitations are. So that is the reason for now why we're not choosing to go down that route. That's it, I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to tear home and get the rest of my work done in the pouring rain as always. I hope you enjoyed watching. It's about to get an awful lot more hands-on. See you soon.